I've gone to conferences where it's like, okay, there's 10 people sitting at this table, like at a conference, right? We're having lunch. There's 10 people there, FBA sellers, and like none of them want to talk about what they sell at all. Because then they're just gonna like jot it down real quick, and then they're gonna like immediately after the conference is like the Canton Fair or whatever, global sources, and they're gonna find a vendor to like supply them with that exact same product.
What is your like work schedule, workflow like these days?
I got nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing is set in stone really. We're like Spy Guy is still like a small company. Like I should really be outside of the operations, and I'm not.
Hmm.
Just poor planning and not enough profit margin, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I got a team of 5, and 4 out of them, out of 5 are basically, well, 3 out of 5 are customer service. And then I hired my brother a couple of years ago to help just kind of fill in the gaps and some of the stuff that needed doing.
Hmm.
And so as far as like my daily schedule goes, I'll wake up, spend a few hours with my daughter. Like we'll go for a walk around the park and I'll listen to
Nice.
a podcast. And around lunchtime, I'll get in a quick workout.
I do
And
the
then
same thing. I like
typically
to
head
work
into the
out at
office or
lunchtime.
something.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could do it earlier in the morning,
Do
but
you?
my wife likes to sleep in. I mean, I used to like sleeping in too, but she's pregnant, and
Right.
so she kind of overrides whatever I want.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Right.
and so she's been sleeping a lot, so I'll handle my daughter the first couple hours, and I like it a lot. Work out, uh, and
That's
then
awesome,
try to
dude.
take care of as much work stuff as I can. Um, and typically that's usually involved in like that. Lately, that entails product development. So like we're trying to manufacture our own products,
Okay.
and then we're just doing a slight website redesign, and we're trying to churn out more content for the website so
Hmm.
that we can rank for important keywords. And
Right.
that's basically what I'm doing at the company right now, in
Right.
addition to like just managing team and stuff.
Right. 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 What's that process like of trying to manufacture your own stuff? Like, are you like designing stuff in a software or finding manufacturers, or how's that work?
Well, first of all, like we do electronics, and I'm not technical. I don't know anything about it, so it was really hard to break into. And it's also like really capital intensive. But
Right.
when it comes to us designing our hardware, I got really lucky because I was on a podcast a couple of years ago, and I voiced my displeasure at manufacturing electronics because I was trying to figure it out and I couldn't.
Uh,
This is like before we actually made anything. And after I was on that podcast, I had a ton of people reach out offering to
nice.
help with manufacturing electronics. And I found a guy who's down in Austin,
Oh, cool.
and we've kind of teamed up. And he's just like um, he kind of has a team that'll do it all, right? And so
Hmm.
like I can tell them exactly what I'm trying to do technically, like with the
Hmm.
electronics. And then I have a separate guy that I go to who's also in Austin for product design. And so they'll kind of work together to figure out what this product looks like, what's it made of, what are the
Hmm.
components inside. And then that hardware partner has a China back office where they actually kind of find the factory and get things
Right.
done the way that I want it to. And so
Right.
for me, it's basically just like typing up exactly what I want, maybe taking some products off the shelf and pointing out like I like this, I don't like this at all,
Gotcha.
sending all that over in our Slack channel, and then they'll take care of it, and then I just have to like wire money. So it's kind of nice. It's largely hands off when it comes to like the dirty work,
Right.
but I'm the guy that's like deciding which products we go after, how much can we
Right.
spend, that sort of thing.
That's cool, man. Like, yeah, like as a developer that's done a couple of businesses with like software is great. Like the margins are great. Like it's fun. It's cool. It's a cool business to be in. But like, I have so much respect for people that are actually doing stuff in the physical world, like Elon
Yeah.
Musk, like building all sorts of stuff. And like you said, it's like capital intensive. There's a lot more risk. It just, to me, when I think about doing something like that, it's like, it's totally overwhelming. It's like,
Yeah. And when you think about it too, um, like there are a lot of different things that you can manufacture, but electronics is the hardest, if not one of the harder ones. It's the hardest.
Mhm.
Did I say that right? It's so difficult because you have the actual like the circuit board and all the hardware that goes into that, and then you got to program that with like firmware, I guess, and then you have software, and if you have like a connected device like an iPhone or an Android, then you have to that whole infrastructure, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like a lot of disciplines. Like that's not just one person. Whereas if
Right.
I'm making like a leather bag or a protein bar, like whatever, uh, yeah, and with the product thing, you have to get it right from like that's the main thing I've learned about manufacturing electronics is that you have to get it right at the very beginning. You have to know exactly what you want because every step along the way that you think, oh, actually, we probably should have added this, or like this really needed Bluetooth, or
Mhm,
maybe we need a different type of USB port.
mhm.
Like every step along the way, it gets way more expensive to go back and fix the
Right,
errors that you made, and so
right.
yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds super super difficult.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
envious of people who do software stuff.
right,
And
'cause
people
it's
who do service and software stuff, they're envious of like uh,
yeah.
product sellers.
Yeah,
So
but you're in a great, like, position because you know the market, you have an existing business, you have an existing audience. You probably know, I'd imagine, all the different products intimately, what's good about this thing and what could be a little
yeah,
better and stuff. So you're in the perfect position. Like if somebody was just starting out, was like, "Oh, I want to get into this category of manufacturing," like it'd be a huge gamble, right? Like it's still a gamble for you, but like so much
yeah,
less because
it is less, and I'm really like I try to be aware of that because I have a lot of respect for somebody who is just diving headfirst into something that they don't know and like they're figuring out along the way.
yeah.
It's way more difficult than like how I got involved in my niche because
Mhm,
like somebody else showed me the ropes and I learned where they were sourcing stuff and I got to actually meet the clients that were already buying these types of items and I got to
mhm,
see those like those buying personas in person because I worked in like a
mhm,
brick and mortar store, right?
mhm.
And so yeah, I have a little bit of a leg up, and it'd be really hard for somebody who doesn't know the surveillance space or the clientele or why people buy something and why they return it and why they
Right.
don't buy something. Like there's just a whole lot, and I tend to forget that. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I look at this and I'm like, dude, somebody, this is going to be the year where somebody swoops in and like just dominates me, and I got to like find something else to do, and it
Yeah.
never happens. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
it just
It's
never does. I've gone on podcasts, I've shared everything, and
yeah.
nobody's like stepped in,
It's
and so it must be a lot harder than I realized.
Yeah, man, it's cool how, like in this whole ecosystem of like independent business owners, bootstrappers, whatever, like you can just kind of do your thing and have like a small business, but it's an extremely healthy business for, whatever size. Um, like it's great, like so much of the
Yeah,
VC world is so focused on like becoming a unicorn. And it's just like, you know,
yeah, and that does like kind of mess with you a little bit.
it
Like
does.
I fell
Yeah.
into that trap for a couple of years where I was just really focused on like revenue growth, and
Gotta
then at the end of the year, I
scale.
looked at the bottom line. I'm like, holy crap, what was I doing? Like,
Yeah,
I need
yeah,
to focus on profit. But you
yeah.
get caught up in all of it,
You
especially on
do.
Twitter when everyone's just trying
Yeah.
to showboat and
I like
all of that.
yeah, it's so weird. Like like I'll see some like investors and I'll like, oh, this person is super interesting, or they see a tweet and then I follow them. Before I know it, I'm following a bunch of different investors, and then all I'm seeing is like money, money, money,
Yeah.
money, billions, billions. And then it like I'm like, I gotta pull back from that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of doing that too. I've unfollowed a lot lately. I'm
Right.
like, okay, this is not good for my like mental health at the
Mental
moment.
health.
I don't need to be
Yeah.
seeing these many zeros in somebody's tweet.
Right.
So, yeah.
And it's weird because like I had been a fan of the whole like sharing your revenue, being transparent about that. I think you've shared some numbers which I thought was cool. Um and there was a time where I was like, oh, that's great. Everybody should do that. And like Bearmetrics, I think it was, yeah, Bearmetrics had like their bearmetrics.com/open with like open businesses. They were
Yeah.
sharing all that. I was like, that's awesome.
ConvertKit.
Yeah, ConvertKit was like crushing the leaders, still crushing those like leaderboards like
Yeah.
absurdly. And then, I don't know, somewhere along the way, I just like those feelings of, I don't know if it's envy or what it is exactly, just start to add up to where it feels like I'm like, don't show me the numbers. I don't need to see all these numbers all the time, you know?
Yep.
Um,
No, I'm the same way. I have no idea like what my competitors are doing.
right.
Like I kind of do. Like every now and then, maybe like once a month, I'll just load up the website and be like, okay, something going on here that I need to be aware of. Is there a product I need to be selling?
Right.
But as far as like revenue, I don't know what my competitors are doing. As far as people on Twitter, a lot of people share numbers like that, but and they look good on the surface, and then you hear from somebody else like, oh, actually, they're like in big trouble. Like they lost a lot of money, or like
Right.
they
Right.
got algorithmed out of Amazon or something like that, and
Right.
so they're like really hurting.
Right.
And so you just got
Right.
to think about that.
One of the things I think about, like, because I've been in the, like, I guess the e-commerce vendor world of like development agencies related to Magento or whatever, or SaaS companies, and like e-commerce merchants, I feel like are generally like less transparent about stuff. Like I was talking to a buddy recently, and we were just talking about all sorts of cool stuff, and then I was like, "Hey, you want to come on the podcast?" And he's like, "No, I can't talk about any of that stuff." And
Yeah,
I wonder if, like, as a merchant, there are it's there's different dynamics at play. Like it's almost harder to be transparent, right? Because if you're a SaaS company or whatever, if you're sharing a bunch of stuff transparently, it's kind of like marketing for you in a way. Like you're going to get more business. Whereas like
right.
when you share stuff, I don't know if it directly leads to business, but I love it when I
Never,
find never, right?
never for me.
Yeah.
People who buy my stuff like they need it, right?
Right.
They're not doing it just
Right.
because.
Right.
It's not like a hobby or a lifestyle thing. It's like you
Right.
actually need like a hidden camera. But
Right.
yes, I understand what you're saying. Absolutely.
And I'm curious about that, like, like for a guy like you, that's like, you seem like you've become more and more transparent in recent years or whatever. I don't know. Like if it's just like you just want to do it, like you kind of just don't care if there's an impact, like what's the thinking there?
I guess there are a few things that play with that. So the first one is, um, I mean, yeah, the average e-commerce like retailer or whatever or Amazon seller, like they don't really want to tell you what they sell
They
because
want to
there's so
keep
many
it all
people that are going
secret.
to try and
Yeah.
yeah, they're worried about people coming in and like stealing their business, and I totally get that. I've gone to conferences where it's like, okay, there's 10 people sitting at this table, like at a conference, right? We're having lunch. There's 10 people there, FBA sellers, and like none of them want to talk about what they sell at all. Because then they're just gonna like jot it down real quick, and then they're gonna like immediately after the conference is like the Canton Fair or whatever global sources, and they're gonna find a vendor to like supply them with that exact same product, and then
Right.
just under their selling price just a little bit on Amazon. And
Right.
so you have that. A lot of people just want to fly under the radar. They don't want competitors. I mean, that was always one of my things too. Is just I've noticed when I talk online about things or like on podcasts or Twitter or something like that, I see some of my competitors like kind of copying the same stuff I do. I've had competitors that I actually used to work for, like they'll take my product description or like I'll notice that they installed this Shopify app after I mentioned it on this podcast. And so they like
Yeah.
keep tabs on you. I mean, they're
Yeah.
probably listening right now.
Right.
Uh, but uh, that's one thing. When you're open, though, so here are the good things, I guess. When I've been open about it, I I hear from people that I want to hear from, like
Mhm.
people who are like-minded, and they kind of want to like share their journey with you, because they know that like, hey, you're transparent, you're upfront, you seem like a trustworthy guy,
Right.
which I like to think I am. And so to have them come out and make themselves known, it's like, okay, now I've got like a crew, and we can all help each other's businesses
Mhm.
out, right?
Yeah,
And so
like the
I've
guy you
had
mentioned
clients come up
in
from that.
Austin, the product development team or whatever that you mentioned
Yeah,
that you met
exactly,
through the
exactly. I
podcast.
never would have found out about him otherwise. I
Yeah.
never would have found out about him. And so for him to have heard me on that podcast, that helped me out a ton. Like I've
Mhm.
made a lot of money that way. He's made a lot of money that way. It's like a rising tide floats all boats kind of situation, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so you just meet interesting people. You get interesting opportunities that come up. I mean, if I were underground, I like wouldn't have met you at all, right?
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
met on Twitter and still haven't met in person.
I
This is the
know.
first time we're talking. And
Yeah.
so I get a lot of interesting DMs from people as well. Last week, I had somebody reach out to me from the other side of the planet and want to go in on a business venture with me,
Yeah.
just because they'd seen me around and stuff. And they were trying to manufacture a hardware product, which I
Right.
sort of know something about now.
Yeah.
And you can get media attention out of it as well too.
Right.
Um, from people who want to have you on their podcast, or people who are doing a story and they like typed a keyword into Twitter and you tweeted something about it, and then you get a DM from them and like, hey, I'm from Bloomberg. I'm looking for a source because I saw you tweeting about this and we're doing a story about it. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, wow, great. I might get a backlink from Bloomberg. They never
Yeah.
give you the backlink though. Uh, but cool stuff comes up. You make yourself known, opportunity, that sort
Right.
of thing. And so
Right.
that's why I share it. And also, like, I've shared my story on like some of the largest platforms out there. I was on Tim Ferriss's podcast a couple years ago,
I
and I
saw
was
that.
like,
Yeah, dude. That's
well,
awesome.
yeah, I mean, it was amazing for me, just because I'm such a huge fan. But
Yeah.
like, he wanted to do an episode on 4 Hour Work Week case studies, and I'm like, okay, if I go on Tim Ferriss's podcast, I'm going to share everything. Like, competitors are going to steal it. I'm probably going to get a bunch of people listening who want to move in on that space.
Right.
I'm probably going to get people that want to like maybe just buy my business or something like that. But I once I was on when I was about to go on there, I was like, okay, I'm just going to lay it all out, because the whole reason I have this business is because I read 4 Hour Work Week, and
Mhm.
I also did like a bunch of other work and stuff, right? Like, I went all in on that premise, and uh, I was like, okay, I'm going to share the story. Everyone has been so helpful to me along the way. Now it's time to share what I've learned about
Mhm.
starting and running Spy Guy. And so I was
Mhm.
fully transparent on there. And then I still didn't get any competition. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna be
You're
like
like,
as
screw it.
I'm gonna be more open. Yeah. So
Dude, that's so
um
cool. That's like I've been listening to Tim Ferriss, I don't know how long, years, and it's such a bucket list thing for me, like to either meet him or whatever. But like, it's I
yeah,
don't want to like meet him in the sense of just like a fangirl, like, oh, hey, meet you, man. Like, I don't know. I want
yeah,
to like be read, like have something interest. Like you had an interesting thing to discuss. Obviously, having been like that 4 hour work week success story, like that's so cool.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's only done a couple episodes on 4 Hour Work Week case studies too, and so it was really nice to be able to sit and like tell him like exactly how I did it, what I would do differently now if I had to, like anything I've learned along the way that was helpful for other people, because that book hasn't been
Yeah.
updated in like 10 years, and I saw
Right.
that as an opportunity. Like, okay, here's some stuff I've learned along the way that might be useful to somebody else,
Yeah.
and so yeah, to just sit and talk about that and not fangirl. It was cool just having a conversation with another person.
It's
So
so cool, man. Did you guys record it in person?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he lives in Austin now, so I went
Right.
down to
Right.
Austin,
Yeah.
and yeah, I had like a list of questions like that they sent over at the last minute, but like nothing on there was really asked at all. So it's kind of like we just sat. He set up the whole podcasting thing, and we just talked for like 3 hours, and
So cool.
it was really cool. And
Yeah.
so I was really nervous. I didn't have any planned answers or anything like that, but people seemed to have liked it, and it was like a very um, like cathartic experience, I guess, because I still remember the first time I like read the book. I still have the book and all my original notes, and
Yeah.
to meet the man and do that podcast episode was really cool.
So cool. Yeah, I never actually read the book, but I feel like I've essentially absorbed it because I've just heard about so many different aspects of it from so many different people and a lot of
Yeah,
like what I understand to be kind of the core ideas of it, of like outsourcing things or simplifying things or kind of work life balance, email stuff, like not like minimizing all that stuff. Like I do so much of that, but I've never actually read the book, which is weird.
it's a good one. I mean, you're gonna read it and be like, okay, uh, a lot of this, like the tools and all that other stuff, are just like so outdated. A lot of
Right.
them are like still okay. Like the copy that I had, like Shopify had just come out, and like, so I guess he came out with the original one in 2007, and then a second edition or whatever in 2009, and
Right.
like Shopify wasn't even mentioned in the first one at all.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, and then in the 2009 version, it's like, all right, there's like a scrappy young startup that I've invested in called Shopify, and
Yeah,
now it's
yeah.
like I don't know how much it's worth now, but it's
It's
just kind of
massive.
funny.
Yeah, it's
The
massive.
principles are still really useful, um, and the tools are out of date, but I think that it's a big mindset shift for a lot of people. But yeah,
Mhm.
you've probably just accumulated a lot of
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
information from it via
Yeah.
osmosis or whatever. But
Yeah.
it holds up quite well.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times, like on podcasts, you'll hear, like, an author talking about it. Like, I listened to actually, on Tim Ferriss, I listened to Matthew McConaughey,
Yeah.
and he was talking about the book he wrote, and so it's like I'll absorb things from books, mostly on podcasts,
Hmm.
and, for me, that's just what just what works for me. I've even tried listening to some actual audiobooks, but I just can't get into them very much. Like, there's something about
I
the
can't
like
do audio.
I can't do
Yeah,
it. Yeah, like, and you listen to podcasts a bunch too, right?
I do. Yes. I like to listen to podcasts if I'm in my car, just heading to the office, or
I'm
going through a
constantly
drive-through.
listening to podcasts. Like, it's
Yeah,
absurd.
or like
Yeah,
walking around the park with my daughter. Like she's in a stroller, and so I'm just pushing it like kind of mindlessly,
totally.
just making sure nobody runs us over. But I'll have
Yeah,
a podcast on or like a YouTube video,
yep,
but I'm too cheap to pay for whatever their premium product is, where I can turn the screen off.
yep, yep,
And
yeah,
so I
yeah.
just like shove that in like the stroller holder pocket or whatever,
Right, right.
and listen to something.
Yeah,
But yeah, I like reading books more than I do like watching video or I guess that's the main thing. I can't do audiobooks though. I just can't. I tried doing it. I
I
let
can't
Audible
do
run
it.
for like
It's
a
like,
year,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then I'm like, I got to cancel Audible because I'm not even using it. But
It's like,
books.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, and then
No,
I'll tell you
I
the books.
no, I was just say it's like it's too it's a little too formal. Like, the audio is a little too formal, and there's just something about the informal conversational nature of podcasts that just are easier
Yeah,
for me to listen to in the background. But reading books is like, actually reading books is the best, like, I wish I was a better
yeah.
reader too.
I haven't done it as much lately, but I credit a lot of my success to actually reading the books, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like learning new concepts from books more than I do hearing about it on like YouTube or podcasts because they have many different so they'll give you like the premise or like the idea or whatever, and then they'll
Mhm.
use a lot of like evidence of that premise in
Mhm.
like later paragraphs, right? And
Mhm.
so they kind of just hammers home the point that they're trying to make
Mhm.
by giving a lot of context as to it. Whereas like if you're just reading like podcast notes or like a 5 minute video where some dude is like hand drawing notes from the book, you know what I'm talking about? Where like
I
they
know
got
what you're
the
talking
yeah,
about.
like yeah, okay, you're getting like the most important idea across, but are you really going to be able to retain that idea
Yeah.
without having read the book? I don't. Apparently, some people can. I
Yeah.
can't. I
Ha
have to actually read it.
Yeah, have you ever seen, Blinkist? It's the thing that does the, book summaries.
I've heard
It
of it. I haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
So I checked it out, and I was like, "This is great. I can, like, essentially read books without actually reading books." And, so I looked at a few summaries, and it's like the summaries, when you just read a summary of the points. I heard somebody say it's like reading the punchline without hearing the joke. So everything just seems like so bland, whereas when you actually read a
Yeah,
book,
totally.
they take you through this journey, and then when you get to the point, it really, like, sticks.
Yep.
But, like, yeah, the book summary thing was like, didn't do it for me either. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to do it. I tried it out, not Blinkist, but just like reading book summaries or like a friend of mine, Nat Elias, and he's on Twitter. He has his book notes online, and
Mhm.
I'll read through them. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this seems really interesting. I should
Mhm.
actually like get the book and read it instead of
Mhm.
just because I just don't retain it if I'm seeing it online or something like that. If it's
Yeah.
a podcast and I'm hearing the author like talk about the ideas, they usually like give more context than
Right.
just like the show notes do.
Right,
And
right, right.
they'll get questions, there'll be feedback, and
Yeah.
so you can retain it a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're out in Dallas. I got to
Yeah.
make it out there. Haven't made it out there yet. You
Never?
ever? Yeah, no, no, never actually.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I got to get out there and hang. I saw you had posted about a buddy of yours, Nick Gray, I think, that has like
Yeah.
meetups for friends, which I was like, that's the coolest thing. Just like have meetups and meet cool people. I was like, I'd totally be doing that if it was
Yeah, he
nearby.
just moved up here. I say up here because 'cause you're in Austin, right?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. He's from well, actually, he's from Dallas, like, he was born here, but then I guess for the last decade or so, he lived up in Manhattan, and he had sold it, but he had a really cool company called Museum Hack, where they
Mhm.
do museum tours, but for people who, like, aren't, like, artsy,
Okay,
like,
that's me.
they'll go and they'll have, like, alcohol, and then a comedian will do the tour of the
That's so
museum, and so
cool.
it's, like, a really cool experience,
I love
but
it.
he just recently moved down here, and I guess he's just like the most social person I know, I guess. And so he's been doing meetups for like other online entrepreneurs, and so it's been
Right.
fun to do stuff.
Yeah, that's
Because
cool.
like the Dallas entrepreneur community is like so scattered. Like
Is it?
it's not like Austin where you could
Right.
just like go to Trader Joe's or whatever and like see
Right.
10 people that you know. It's
Right.
like everyone's hiding in the suburbs and
Right.
they're in their home and they don't like go out at all. Like we just
Right.
don't have a community up here. And so Nick has been the guy that's like kind of been finding everybody and
That's cool.
getting us all together. Yeah.
Yeah, the funny thing, I'm actually about a half hour north of Austin. I'm in Georgetown,
Okay,
up
yeah.
in the suburbs, and
Hmm.
so we love it out here and stuff like that, and it's great for the family. So I'm kind of like that actually, like kind of just up in the suburbs, don't go down to the city very much. And I kind of go in and out of like wanting to really connect with people and meet people. I'll go for like a year where I'm like, I don't want to meet anybody. I'm just gonna like stay in my cave. Um,
Yeah.
but I've been like, and then sometimes I'll look at like meetup.com and I'll try to find meetups. But a lot of the Austin tech scene is like that VC scene too. And
Yeah,
I'm
I get
just
that
like,
vibe.
nah, yeah. So like trying to find more of like the indie kind of scene, and
The Dallas meetup scene is more like just networking people. Like
right.
people wanting to network, not actually like get stuff done, but it's
Yeah,
just like they
yeah.
want to meet people and like
Like
try
I
to get ahead that way.
Right. Like I love networking in the sense of actually just meeting cool people, but like networking groups for the sake of networking are the absolute worst.
It's terrible. And a lot of people when they're just getting started out, like that's what you do, right? Like I did that, you
Totally.
know, 6, 7 years ago when I was starting Spy Guy. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, there's a young entrepreneur meetup or whatever. I got to go to it. And then I go and then I'm like the youngest guy at like
Right.
25 and
Right.
everyone else is like a car salesman like in their 40s or something and
Right.
handing out
Just handing
cards.
out
Like
cards. Yeah.
you go through that. It sucks.
Yeah.
You don't know
Yeah.
any better. And
Right.
thankfully, I haven't had to go to one of those in a while. Twitter
Right.
is a much better networking uh,
Right.
tool than actually going to the networking events.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I saw you posted recently that, you just really love Twitter and have met a lot of cool people and stuff. And I like it's weird. Like I was tweaking my feed and like we were talking about like finding the things that were more kind of interesting and inspiring and engaging. And I thought it was great. And then like a couple weeks later, I found myself every time I was using Twitter, it was just making me frustrated for one reason or another. So it
Yeah,
like
you really have to focus on like on curating and filtering people out and stuff.
yeah, so I don't know, like, is there anything you do in particular that makes it just work well for you?
For so I've heard from other people that lists help. I don't personally use them. I'm
I've
just
tried
throwing that out
List.
there in case.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
you have.
it's yeah, and I see people start to
Yeah.
use them, and I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't do
Yeah, so my new rule lately is just okay, I don't care how like how much of an expert you are at this particular thing, which is why I probably followed them to begin with, right? Was because they're really good at this one thing and I was wanting to learn from them.
Mhm.
Uh like if you just talk about politics like too
Dunzo.
much, I just have to either mute or block or
Yeah,
unfollow. I don't know what it
yeah,
is.
yeah, there's too much.
Sometimes it goes into from like a follow to like a like unfollow. But then I still see their tweets because like a friend of mine like liked it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
And that drives me crazy. But you can actually find a lot of interesting people that way by somebody you already follow, like seeing what they like, and then
Yeah,
you like click their profile and you're like, oh, okay, this person's cool, and then you can follow them.
right.
But sometimes you just got to meet or block people that do it. Like
Yeah.
the one that really gets me lately is like people on Twitter who are like responding to a tweet from our president. Like, don't do that. Like, he's not gonna see it, and you just look really like angry, just mad or angry or
Yeah,
whatever, and
yeah,
like
yeah,
it just kind of signals that you're like easily rattled or like
yeah.
childish. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
uh
it's
so
hard.
I just do politics.
Yeah, 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 that's a good one. I try to meet that stuff too, but then it gets hard because like, you mute certain keywords, but then it's like at certain times people are just there's not a keyword, like people are just going off on
I guess that's when you log off. I
they
don't know.
just log off, yeah. Dude, by the way, your teeth are like super white. Like I was thinking about
Are they?
white. I don't know if it's the video or what, but I was
I think
like,
it's just the weird lighting in here. Like it's
"Oh,
actually
is it?"
really dark in here right now. Yeah, but I'm like kind of looking at the I have like the smallest little
uh,
window where I can see my camera. It's not even. It's like all blurry,
oh,
but
is
it
it?
does look really white in here, and so
Yeah.
I think it's just the
I was
auto.
like the auto. I was like thinking about doing the teeth whitening. I tried the strips, the over the counter strips, and
Yeah,
then it just you got to do it like every night for an hour. It's a huge hassle, so I just gave up on it.
I've never done it before. I assure you, my teeth are not. Yeah, now all I can see in my little thing is my teeth. I would love to change. I don't know if that's exposure or white balance or what it is. It's the webcam. It's my
Yeah,
teeth are really actually pretty awful.
pretty standard.
But
But
yeah.
like but like when it comes to like health and fitness and stuff, like you've been like I think you posted some before and after shots and you've been working on improving your health and you got a nice gym set up, garage gym set up, right?
Yes,
It's
yeah.
awesome.
I shelled out the money to do a home gym setup, which has been fantastic. Even though it's only been set up for like a week and a half now, I guess. But it saves me like 20 minutes each way,
Yeah.
and so that's nearly an hour of my time, 4 days a week, and I don't have to plan it. I can just head out there and do my thing.
Mhm.
Pays for itself, basically. Um, but yeah, a few years ago, um, I had met a friend online, and he had invited me to a conference where he was a speaker. And at this conference, there were just a lot of people who were into health and fitness, a lot of personal, like online coaches and stuff. And I'm
Mhm.
not talking about like influencer Instagram stuff or whatever. I'm talking about like online coach. I'm training this guy who's going to be like trying out for the Olympic team or whatever.
Oh shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Real online
Yeah.
fitness folks. And one of them, his name's Andy. This super specimen of a man.
Jacked.
He- yeah, British guy, like 6'4", lives in Japan. He has like the number one fitness website in Japan, and he became my online coach for a couple of years. And I lost a ton of weight. I learned how to lift weights and eat right, and it like the physical transformation was awesome, but the mental transformation was equally as
Huge.
important to me. Yeah, it was way better. I don't want to say I was depressed or anything like that, but I was
Mhm.
at this weird stage with my business where like just wasn't interested in working on it. I was like really lethargic. I just didn't have much of an interest in doing anything at all. But then
Mhm.
once I like got in shape, just felt tremendously better. And
Mhm.
so I try to stay physically active and eat well and all
It's
of that.
awesome. Yeah, dude.
I don't know if you do anything at all, but
I had a very similar thing actually. I recently lost like 45 pounds and
that's awesome.
similar thing with business. Like I was kind of between two businesses, had sold one and was just like trying to figure out what I want to do in life kind of thing and just was like similar. Like I don't know if I was depressed or somewhat like I'm sure depression is kind of a spectrum or whatever.
Hmm.
And then I was trying to it's been a process for me though cuz like I wanted to just dive into like getting super healthy after I sold my business, but it's like the first day I'm like I work out for an hour and I'm like, all right, I'm sore, my like ankles hurt, Like, I don't want to do this anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just taking time and just gradually, like little by little,
Yeah.
um,
It might be the
lifting
type of
weights and
training too, because
yeah.
I mean, there's a type of weightlifting that you could do, high intensity training or HIT, not
Mhm,
HIIT, just HIT.
mhm,
And you can do like a whole workout in under 20 minutes, right?
mhm,
And you do that like
mhm,
3 times a week. So it's really quick. It's
mhm.
like, and it's really effective too. And so, some people, they just don't jive with certain types of training. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been doing I just do like Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I do upper body at the gym and I try to hit it pretty hard, for 20, 25 minutes and then legs on Tuesdays and Thursdays and
yeah.
then I hit the sauna. Love the sauna. I love doing that every day.
Haven't done that in a while. I was thinking about
Dude,
getting one though, because apparently
right,
people I follow on Twitter now are getting
right.
saunas and posting
Nate,
about it.
I think that guy
Uh,
Nat or Nate was
yeah,
Nat was super into that. Yeah. I
yeah,
saw him
yeah. It's kind of funny.
yeah. I saw him post about getting like a barrel sauna, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
It was a
I don't
nice one.
remember the make and model of it or whatever it was, but it did look quite cool. It looked like a wooden keg, like on its side.
Mhm, mhm.
So I guess he's got the
Yeah,
space to do that down there.
yeah,
I do not,
yeah.
but yeah, he's a really cool guy, and I like seeing what he's up to just because he does a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, he does a bunch of super interesting stuff. I think he did that, course on Rome, the, note-taking,
Yeah.
tool, and, I was using Ro I still use Rome. I was real heavy in, for, like, a month or so, I was trying to learn about all the features and stuff like that, filters and queries, and now I just
Yep.
use it as, like, a glorified notepad, but I was trying to journal almost every day. I kind of stopped doing that about a week ago. But I think I noticed that you were talking about journaling. Are you a big journaler?
I'm not like super committed to it in the sense that like I do it once a day or whatever.
Mm,
Sometimes I get on a streak where I'll like do it daily for a little bit,
mm,
but more often than not, it's usually like I just have too much going on in my head and I
mm,
don't have any focus. And I find that just opening up the text editor or whatever. Lately, I've been using um, there's an app called Bear. It's kind of like Evernote,
mm,
but it's only, and it's just like a little bit of a nicer user experience. I'll
mm,
journal in Bear, and I'll just like write down a list of all the stuff that I got to get done,
mm,
and like figure out what's actually important.
mm,
Which ones can I do like real quickly to where like it just gets taken off my plate, and then I get to free up that mental RAM, right?
mm,
And so I do like writing a journal like from time to time about like what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. If there's something that's on my mind, I like to get it out there, and then I generally feel a lot better after I do that.
mm,
I'm just not like super committed to like doing it once a day or whatever,
mm,
regardless of just to keep the chain going. It's more like okay, I need to take a step back from what's going on in life and like figure out where I need to go from here.
mm. That's interesting. I was I'd always heard like you should journal, but I was like I hate journaling. And then I started, I guess, a few months ago doing it every night. And I found it pretty helpful. Um, but then I kind of stopped like about a week ago. And instead, I kind of been doing like more meditating, but kind of like similarly, like kind of ad hoc, like when I feel like I need to,
Mhm.
and like I saw like Naval Ravikant was like, you got to do 60 minutes every morning, do nothing at all, and you got to do it for 60 days. And I was like, oh, that's too hard. And then I heard about it again recently, and I was like, oh, I got to do that. So I like did it 2 days in a row, and then like the next day I was just like too busy or whatever, so I didn't do it. But I've been doing it more like ad hoc, like as if I'm feeling weird or whatever. Um,
That's generally how I go about the journaling thing, or um, just the only thing that I like really have like in my routine, as far as like for my what would you call it? Just like well-being. I don't know what it
Mental
is.
health,
It's lifting
well-being.
weights.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just lifting weights for me, just because it's a workout. It's a way to get I feel good afterwards,
Yep.
and I don't know. There's something about lifting weights that just really does it for me. There's
Yeah.
a lot of, gosh, we're just gonna talk about Twitter the whole time. Just a
I
lot of
love it.
really interesting people on Twitter that are like really into fitness, and they can put it into words better than I can. Like
Yeah,
why it feels good to lift weights, and why it feels good to be
right,
like your body to be fatigued, and like I guess you get
right.
endorphins from it, and it comes
Totally.
back stronger. And yeah, there's actually a
Yeah.
really cool piece by Henry Rollins, the musician. He
Okay.
has this really cool like essay on like the Iron God, I think it was, and basically just weightlifting and like why
Right,
weightlifting is so amazing.
right.
Uh, and so I'll do that. Have you done the Wim Hof thing by any chance?
Dude,
Because
so I've heard about that, and I've been
yeah,
wanting to do like I've been wanting to go like to like a breathwork seminar or some shit.
you should do it
And
because
yeah.
I did it a couple times
Did you?
a couple of years ago. Yeah, so this isn't like something I'm like committed to or that I've even done recently, but I still think about it from time to time and how it made me feel. And I try to like just like think about that every now and then because like I did this I guess we called it mancation where we had like 13 other online entrepreneurs and we rented out this big mansion, and one of the
So
dudes
cool.
had a Wim Hof instructor fly in, and
That's awesome.
so we did like 3 hours of it, and none of us, I don't think any of us had ever done it before, and it was definitely a thing. There's something going on with
Something happens.
that type of breathing. Yeah, it was a really interesting experience. My understanding, one of the guys that was there said it was basically like doing Molly. So
Right.
I've never done drugs, so I can't tell you like if it did or not. But he was like, "Yeah, I feel exactly the way that I did after taking Molly for the first time."
Dude,
And so
right,
everyone was super relaxed afterwards. Very like there were people who left like the house that we were staying at. There were people who left that I didn't even speak with that entire trip, just because there's so many people and I didn't know anybody, but we're all like giving each other hugs and stuff as like they're leaving because it was just like an emotional kind of thing
right,
going on. I
right.
don't know.
Yeah.
But
Like
yeah, it was definitely something to consider trying. I would
that's
suggest.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard on the Aubrey Marcus podcast, he'd had I think he had that dude Wim Hof on, and they did some retreat in Poland recently. And I'd heard about it there, and then a few different places. And the other thing I've been thinking about is like psychedelics, like especially as I've heard like Tim Ferriss talk about that, Rogan and stuff
Right.
like that. And I've never done really any of that stuff. But I've been starting to think about it,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
definitely. I mean, yeah, Tim talks about it a lot. Rogan talks about it a lot. I know Oregon just legalized everything
right,
like a week ago,
right,
so I don't know what's going to happen. They had the first major results from a, I guess it was that thing that Tim funded a couple of years ago. It was like
right.
some sort of,
He's
I'm
like
not even
heavy.
the
He's like
psilocybin,
heavy into it. Yeah.
yeah, treatment for PTSD, I believe, and apparently the results were like outstanding.
Mm,
And so there's definitely something there. I feel pretty great without having to do drugs personally, but
mm,
it is really interesting to hear all the studies that are coming out about it and see what people are focusing in on and like how that can help people recover from like mental illness and all that
yeah.
other stuff. It
Yeah.
is quite fascinating.
Yeah. Hard segue into
Yeah, I know. Sorry for the diversion. You
No,
might
I
want to put
love
this
it.
out in the e-commerce
No, no, I
oriented
love it. Like
podcast.
I kind of like to go all over the place actually. Like those are kind of my favorite types of podcasts to listen to. So that's kind of what I like to
So
do.
I'll wrap it up with the journaling thing real quick though, because I know you listen to McConaughey's podcast. I heard him on Rogan, and one of the things that he talked about was
I heard
journaling
him on
and
Rogan
how
too,
when he
yeah.
was oh, okay, yeah, he
Right,
was like,
right.
what was I going through in life when things were really good and things were really bad? Like, what was my routine like? What was I eating and feeling and whatever? And I think that's one of the like a fantastic reason to journal. I wish I had done it when I was younger. I wish I were doing it now,
Mhm.
right? So that 20 years down the line, I can go look back and be like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, and
yeah.
just kind of like reflect on that before I croak or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I thought that was so fascinating too, and especially, like, not knowing that much about Matthew McConaughey and thinking of him as more of just kinda like a free spirit, like, wild dude. I was kinda, like,
Yeah,
surprised that he was into journaling of all things,
yeah.
especially for so long and so disciplined. I was, like, really surprised about that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Interesting guy.
yeah, he's a super interesting guy. Um,
Hard
so
segue
hard
into
segue into Shopify. So how
okay.
you talk a good bit about the different things you're doing with Shopify and different apps and stuff that you're playing out. Like, how's all that like going for you? Pain points, stuff that you're enjoying or playing with. Like, what kind of stuff are you playing with and tweaking right now?
Uh, right now we're doing a well. I guess there are a few different things. The main thing I'm doing with Shopify at the moment is just trying to have as good of a user experience as possible for our customers because so for the first 4 years of I think 4 years of Spy Guy, we I was just using a $150 template.
Hmm.
I bought it in Shopify template store or whatever it's called, theme store,
Hmm.
and I rode that thing in the ground, right?
Nice.
A couple of years ago, I paid for like a custom theme. It was expensive, right? Like $50,000 or something like that when everything was said and done.
Right.
But had an agency do that for me, and like it was good. Like I think there were some things that could have been better, but the thing is, like going back and uh, like editing it. We're a small team over here, right? If somebody's going to be editing the website, it's either me or like a developer that I'm paying like on contract work, and it kind of gets difficult when you have a custom theme to do stuff. Um, and so I do find it a little bit annoying that I basically have to always have a developer handy to like do things for me and fix things up. And then I try to use something like Shogun to build a custom landing page, and then that doesn't play nice with Shopify sometimes.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of like the main thing that I'm dealing with Shopify right now is just um, we're trying to do a quick facelift based on some user testing that we did. We found a lot of different pain points on our website, or some product pages weren't clear,
Hmm.
uh, or excuse me, like our um, ordering and shipping policies were unclear, or maybe like our cart page had an issue on it that we were unaware of. Like we did some user testing to diagnose a lot of those issues,
Hmm.
and then now we're tweaking the website and trying to fix those issues while also kind of um, trying to improve the quality of the design to so that when people load our website, they're like, oh, okay, like this feels like a website where they put in a lot of resources into making it useful for the customer. And a lot of that's subconscious, right? Like it's just
Hmm.
like little design things like, oh, wow, this is actually like a well designed website. Um, they actually have like a product video on the product page that is like it's well lit. The audio quality is good. Like this person seems to know what they're talking about. Like I'm just trying to put a nice coat of polish on the website and our content and all the different things that we do, so that when people who are shopping around, they might compare us to a competitor who's
Hmm.
using like $150 theme that they've like hacked to do what they want, but maybe like the user experience is really poor, right?
Right.
Like I want to
Right.
be seen as like a premium option in our
Yeah.
space. So
Yeah, it's interesting how like design, like I remember at one time looking at like those trust badges, like there's these different trust badges that you could get
I
for a
remember that.
site. And I was like A/B testing them on a site I used to work for and stuff like that. And then somebody told me they were like, if you have good design, you don't need the trust badge. Like the trust badge kind of makes it worse.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, totally.
Like there's just something about great design. You just automatically trust them. It's like, okay, these guys have their shit together, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
design is really important, and I feel like a lot of people in the e-commerce world just like don't, other than like designers, like
yeah,
I don't think a lot of them appreciate it, right? They're too busy focusing on things like, oh, how much should my free shipping threshold be? Or just like making really small and consequential changes to their website, or like installing
right,
Shopify apps and testing them, and oh, this one loads a little bit slower, so I'm not going to use it. Or
right,
like
right.
whereas maybe like I know one person in particular who is very like ingrained in the entire technical aspect of his Shopify website so that it
Hmm.
runs as good as it can. But
Hmm.
man, like really needs a website redesign because it's so difficult. It's
Hmm.
ugly in my personal view. Like I
Hmm.
wish that he would spend time and money into really great design because that's going to do more than that's going to have a higher return than anything else he's going to do, like A/B testing apps and A/B testing landing pages and whatever else.
Yeah.
Um, but it's hard for e-commerce store owners because we don't know anything about design, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, like, I have this problem. Like, I'll load up my own website and I'll see something and it just doesn't look right, but I couldn't tell you why it's not right. Um, and so it gets really hard to like diagnose a lot of design problems that you have.
Mhm. Mhm.
So then you got to find a designer, and designers can be expensive. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but good design's really important.
It's
I agree
interesting,
with you there.
like yeah, it's interesting because like I've mostly been in like the Magento world for forever, and I've been trying to kind of dive into the Shopify world a little bit. And my impression of like Shopify was like everything was plug and play. Like, because the whole thing of where you're like, oh, I got to have a developer to make design tweaks or little tweaks to the site, that's like Magento. And I thought,
Yeah, yeah,
like, but it's interesting because some of these dynamics are playing themselves out in the Shopify ecosystem as it has matured in similar ways. Like, even though it's a, open source versus SaaS and stuff like that. But like,
yeah,
it's interesting, that you got to get a developer to do little tweaks and um, and then like you said, you got the people that are so thinking about all of the technical details all the time that they can't really focus on the bigger picture, you know,
yeah,
like the user
yeah.
experience and
The thing with the Shopify, so there's a couple different points there. With the Shopify apps, a lot of them just don't play nice together, right? Either they don't communicate with each other properly, like if it's some sort of data that's going through APIs and stuff, which
yeah.
I'm not a programmer, so I might have just said that completely wrong. But I do know a
No,
lot of
that's
people
right.
that are like, nope, you can't, you can't use that app because it doesn't communicate with this other app, which is communicating with the Facebook pixel and all this other stuff. And so you got to worry about that. But
Yeah.
then, like, I was dealing with an issue with this app Shogun the other day, which is an awesome landing page builder app, but it didn't play nice with something in my theme, and it didn't play nice with my reviews app, and it didn't play nice with some other thing. And so
Hmm.
then I have to like contact the different app developers who are all blaming it on each other as to why it's not working, and then it just becomes like really frustrating to deal with.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then you got people going the other direction where they have a totally like headless solution where like the whole front end is custom and then they got an
Yeah,
API everything in. Um,
I've
but
heard a little bit about that, but if I tried to talk about it right now, it would not sound
yeah,
super smart.
yeah, yeah. So Shogun is for building like landing pages that are either product specific or just like different campaign pages or category
Yeah,
pages or
whatever
whatever.
page you could want. Yeah, just if you just want a completely blank page, but it looks like your theme, like it'll
Mm,
pull all of your theme settings, and then you can create a landing page if you want to drive
mm,
traffic to it via like a Facebook ad, right?
mm,
Or an email letter, an email campaign, excuse me.
mm,
Or if you want to make a brand new product page, but like let's say your product template, your product page template that's in your Shopify theme. Like,
mm,
let's say that you want some um, additional like sections, I guess you
mm,
would call it. Like,
mm,
so let's say you want to add in like a grid, or you want to import this video into this particular spot, or like there's,
mm.
let's say you want to go ahead and make columns, right? Then you
Yeah.
could use Shogun, which is like a drag and drop landing page builder, so you can
Mm,
add certain things like, oh, you know what, I really like to have like a slideshow banner or something right here for whatever reason. Then you can just grab that and drag it in. And so
right.
it's kind of like a no code tool, I guess, for people who are
Right.
trying to build landing pages. But although they can add those features, and this comes back into the design thing, like one of the problems I have is like, okay, I can use Shogun to make a landing page and it has the features that I want,
Mm,
but like it doesn't look right. And it might not look right because, oh, you know what, that bar is like too many pixels, or
mm.
not perfectly, uh,
Perfectly
maybe
aligned with the
need to
rest of
be
you.
rounded, but they're like
Yeah,
straight.
yeah. Yeah,
It's like a
yeah, yeah,
hard
yeah, yeah.
corner or something like that. And so
Yeah,
there's all these like small little things that, yes, the feature is now there, but when you're looking at it visually, it's like, okay, something is off, and I don't know how to fix it. And so
right.
that's when I'll like bring in a designer, and I'm like, okay, why doesn't this look like the rest of my website? And they're
Right.
like, oh, it's because the font is incorrect, and then the font size and the font weight is wrong, and then
Right.
also Yeah, and so it helps. Somebody needs to be doing that, like design on demand consultation, where like
Right.
you just message to them and be like, okay, why is this so crappy from the rest of my website? And then they just
Right.
straight up tell you what it is.
Have you tried out any of those, like, because I know there's some different like Shopify, like talent marketplaces kind of thing to like get a developer. Like I can't remember the name of it, but like where you could go
You have
in and
the
just.
Shopify partner thing. Is that what you mean?
I know there's the partner thing, but then I remember there was this other thing. It was like an independent thing, because it was a little similar to my talent thing, which is a little more Magento oriented. But they, it was like for small jobs, like small
Yeah, they're
freelance jobs.
so like there. I know Toptal has been hitting me with ads like crazy.
They do a
That I
lot of
want.
ads.
Yeah, but then there's also, I don't know. Am I allowed to name some of them?
Yeah, yeah,
I
for
know
sure.
there are a few apps out there, a few companies out there. I have not tried them. Like I know one was Hey Carson, and I think it's
That's the
just like
one. That's the one I was
uh,
thinking about. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, and it's basically like you can choose from their menu of like changes that you want done to your
Right,
Shopify website, and then they'll
right.
do it.
So does
Yeah,
that work for that type of thing?
I tried one of those really early on in like 2014, like when we
Hmm.
first got started, and I ultimately ended up not going down that route because I just don't know if those. It's like a trust thing. Like I don't know if they really
Hmm.
know what they're talking about, or like if they're doing something the best way. Like
Hmm.
it seems
Hmm.
like they might be doing a lot of cookie cutter related stuff that might work on some people's stuff, but then like cause problems on my end.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Hmm.
I guess I get worried about like um, I try to have like clean code, where everything's
Hmm.
on, uh, so I could bring in just anybody to come in and tweak
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
Whereas when I used that stuff in the past, it was like somebody would come in and be like, okay, all of this is a mess and I don't understand what this is at all.
Right.
And so I just get really worried when I just bring in like a million different developers and they don't all know each other.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
just like, I just get worried about stuff getting bogged down and stuff not working properly, I
Yeah.
guess. So I
Yeah.
have one guy that I go to for like pretty much everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because the last thing you want to hear is like, ah, this is all a hot mess. Everything is, conflicting with each other, and da, 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 da. Now I got to charge you a lot of extra money to untangle all
Yeah.
this. You know.
And there are like a lot of
Um,
Shopify apps where like you uninstall it, but they leave a lot of crap behind in your theme.
mm,
Um,
hmm.
and so I've experienced that before, and I just get really paranoid about that sort of thing. Like,
Right.
oh no, what if this developer changed this thing that I asked him to do, but then he accidentally deleted this one thing, or like, and now my
Yeah.
page isn't showing up in Google.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
worried about
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Um,
even know if it's possible. I just get paranoid about it.
yeah, I know, because it's like random stuff happens when you're relying on Google or whatever, and then you're like, who knows? Like, and you recently took over like your Facebook ads, right? And you had like an agency that was doing them, and you're like, screw this, I'm gonna do it myself. And then like you got like much better results and everything, right?
Yeah. So, I we get a lot of our business through Google Ads, right, over the years. And last year was was the year that I came out with my first actual product that I've designed.
Oh,
Up
really?
until then, we were just like a retailer, right? We were just selling other people's stuff. But last year, after I met that hardware guy, we got to work on a product. It's a hidden camera finder for people who are traveling and staying in Airbnbs,
Hmm.
because I hear about that stuff all the time, just based on my industry. And I'd get Google alerts, and I'd see, or like friends would send me articles about people who like found a hidden camera in their Airbnb. And I was like, okay, you know what? This can be my first foray into a selling a physical product, right? That appeals to people who aren't really interested in, like, who don't need spy gear, right? This is just for anybody who travels and is concerned about their privacy, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
we made this product, and I was like, okay, I think this will do really well on Facebook ads, right? Because Facebook ads, I could target people who are traveling. Like that's my logic. I can pick the exact demographic that I think is going to buy this product, or I might be wrong and we can test that and it's actually this demographic. And so,
Right.
anyways, I just looked at Facebook as this opportunity to sell like a low price point product, hit a ton of people, and hopefully get like a ton of sales. and I hired this Facebook agency through Twitter. Don't do that, folk. That did not work out for me. I spent a lot of money on. Um, so we spent money on the ads, of course, but the agency fees were just absolutely absurd.
Mm,
And they just talked a good game, and I guess I fell for it. I don't know, and it just bombed. And so back in March when I let them go, the COVID hit, right? And so for a couple months, I did all of the Google ads. Um, I took that over, and so it was
oh,
like I
okay.
was reading Google ads for the first time in 6 years.
Mm,
And after about 2 months of the COVID thing, like starting in June, like things were really picking back up again. And I was like, you know what? I really think that there's a way for us to make money on Facebook. Maybe not with that product, considering all travel has halted, but there's got to be something we could do with Facebook. And the bare minimum is just setting up retargeting, right? Because we
mhm.
weren't doing any retargeting whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
And we set that up. I set that up. I just browsed a bunch of blogs online and maybe
Mhm.
watched a YouTube video and a podcast or two and got it up and running. And sure enough, if you look at, I guess the tweet that you saw was if you compare third quarter's numbers, where it was just me doing the retargeting thing on Facebook, compare third quarter to first quarter when a $10,000 a month agency is running this thing. Like we spent like 20% of what they did,
Yeah,
but ended up getting like 10% more in sales than they did over like a 3 month period.
yeah,
And like it almost sounds absurd, right?
yeah, yeah.
Uh, I just don't get it. Uh, and so I don't know what the lesson is necessarily.
Sometimes it's tough to know like what to do yourself, because you could see how a lot of people would say, well, you're designing products, let somebody else handle the ads. That let somebody else with that specialty handle the ads. But
Right.
then, sometimes you dig in, you do it yourself, and it's just it goes back to what you said. Like it's hard to hire people. It's hard to whether it's a developer or ad agency or anything in-house or hiring a contractor. Like it's hard to know because you don't know what you don't know, and it's
Yep.
just it's tough. Like and a lot of times you don't learn about the problems for a long time.
Yeah. You don't know what you don't know. I used to hate that saying. I think it was my dad that I first heard that from, and I'm like, that is such a stupid saying. But I was literally thinking about that yesterday, maybe, and I'm like, man, that is just the truest statement ever. Uh, because a lot of the people who are good at hiring or just seem to hit home run after home run after home run,
Yeah,
like they're just really lucky. Um, and I certainly feel this way. Is like I look at people like that, and I'm like, you know what? I should be doing that. I should be hitting home run after home run, but I'm not for whatever reason. But other people have other advantages too. Like maybe they just knew somebody who happened to
right,
be the guy to get the job done, and sure enough, he got it done. Like
right,
they just
right.
get lucky with their network and who they know and how much money they can afford for that sort of thing. Look,
Yeah,
if I had, twice as many sales as I do right now and a better profit margin than I do right now, and I could probably do all the stuff that I want to do, right? I could find the right people for the job and get it taken care of. But sometimes you're just not at that point where you can afford that the the where you can afford the quality of worker to get something done,
right.
and so you sell for something less, and it just doesn't work out, and then you feel like you failed or like you did fail, right? It's all situational, I guess.
Yeah. Dude, are you like when it comes to like surveillance and stuff, like sometimes I'll get super paranoid. Like I'll be like, dude, what if a call's being recorded or what if I'm being recorded or what's like it's just a weird headspace to get into. And then most of the time I'll be like, it's not everything's fine. But like but, I mean, this is the space that you're in. So like, do you think about
Yeah,
that all the time? Like, are you like, oh shit, what if I'm being recorded?
yeah. I'm not on all the time. In other words, like I'm not just constantly like paranoid. I'm more of just aware, and I guess what I mean by that is um, I'm I'm very aware of like the products that I sell and how people are using them and how that can really screw somebody over. I'm just aware of what people are doing in the world with these types of products, right?
Right.
um, or just like how sinister people can be, or like evil, or
Right.
like the reasons why people are using these products. And I guess most people just don't get that kind of exposure, and so they just don't think of it at all, right?
Mhm.
But like, yeah, I'll go to like a hotel room or something like that, and I'll like lay down on the bed, and I'll look up, and there's like a smoke detector right above me, and like sure enough, like it blinked the light, probably just to indicate that the power was constant, right? Like it is plugged in for
Right.
power,
Right.
because hidden cameras, like when you watch a movie, right, and it shows a security camera has captured what just happened in the movie, like it always
Uh-huh.
shows a blinking red light, right?
Uh-huh.
No,
Uh-huh.
no real security camera does that.
Right.
That's just an indicator for the audience that the
Right.
camera is
Right.
on.
Right.
But like, I'll be laying in bed and I'll look at a smoke detector and be like, great, that looks exactly like a smoke detector that I sold like 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and I forgot my hidden camera finder.
Yeah, yeah,
Or,
yeah.
yeah, so I'm aware of that. I'm aware of GPS trackers and private investigators, and like how they work and how they're not noticed by the typical person. Like there's so much that can be done when you're not aware of this space. Like it's really quite interesting
Yeah.
to see how people work, the products that are used, why they're doing it that way. Like honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I get hauled in to, like, by the FBI or something like that. Like, okay, we tracked all your whereabouts and your internet activity, and we got you on video here, and we actually like entered your home because you did this one thing wrong, and that gave us access. You know what I mean? Like,
It's
it's
terrifying when you start going
yeah,
down
it's
that
absolutely
path.
possible. Yeah,
It's horrible. The world
yeah,
that we live in, like,
yeah.
it's crazy.
I've seen this stuff happen where there have been situations where like I've set up a hidden camera, and I found out who was vandalizing my neighbor's car. We got it all on video,
Right.
and I bet that person, like once they saw that video, they just felt like that dread that you get in your body when you realize like that
You're
secret thing that you did and you
screwed.
thought nobody
Yeah.
knew about it, and it's like straight on video. In this
Yeah.
case, this guy like spray painted a bad word on my neighbor's car,
Right.
right?
But that's the thing is like,
And his life got
you're
ruined. He's like a
yeah.
felon now.
Right.
So and it was like a nothing thing. He bought spray paint, wrote on the dude's car, but we got it
Mm.
on video. And he was 18, and he got kicked out of college and lost all of his scholarships, and now he's a felon, right? Because you
Uh,
did that, and you thought nobody was going to find out about it. And it happens every day. We
is
get
that a
people who
felony?
call
Spray
about stuff.
painting?
I
Surprising.
don't know what
I thought
exactly
it was.
he got hit with, but he was doing a bunch of stuff, and that just happened to be one
See,
of the things.
yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, you gotta avoid doing stuff like that too.
Like but, GPS trackers, I sell trackers, and I think in most places it's just a misdemeanor. Like I could just I don't know if you ever saw Breaking Bad. There's this one moment where like the car just drives up and he like has a magnetic tracker and just like slaps it under somebody's car. Those
Mm,
things will go for months, and you can track
mm.
all of their movements, and they'll
It's,
never have
it's
any idea whatsoever.
it's insane.
But it's like a misdemeanor to do that. In some cases,
Right.
like if you're stalking with somebody, it can be like a felony. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
yeah. So yes, to answer your question, I'm very aware of problems that can occur using some of the products that we sell,
Yeah.
or even stuff that's illegal and we don't sell it. Like just what's possible. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll just be on a phone call, like with a buddy or not, or a acquaintance or something like that, and I'm just, I don't know, like talking without, just being, just having a private conversation, saying something random, and I'm just like, oh shit, what if this is recorded? Like,
Yeah. Audio
we'll go there.
recorders. I mean, that's one of the major categories that we have is just covert audio. And so we got microphones and
Right.
pens, microphones and thumb drives, and power banks, and then keychains. So it looks like a clicker for a car, but nope, it's an
Right.
audio recorder. Um, yeah, dude, you could put a hidden camera in basically anything and never have any idea. And it's like
Right.
1080p resolution. Um, yeah,
It's
it can be
crazy.
scary, especially the audio recordings. That stuff can like really haunt you.
Right. Right.
More than a few news stories of people getting caught on camera or audio and they had no idea, and it's like ruined their lives. So
Right. Yeah, it's brutal.
yeah. A lot of the
Well,
audio recorders we do are people who are recording conversations at work, like they're getting harassed at work or something like that,
see, and that's
and so they'll
important,
use that
like,
as
to
evidence. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I've heard you mention that, I think, and it's that's important is, like, you're using it, like, defensively, right? Because 'Cause you're getting harassed and you need some way to prove it, So it's like
right.
that feels like a legitimate thing to do, you know?
Yeah,
Um, and,
yeah. The legitimate stuff, I love helping people that where it's like a legitimate thing. But we'll get phone calls where somebody and what they're trying to do is like straight up illegal, and we'll be like, yeah, we can't help you with that at all.
yeah.
um, like somebody will be like, yeah, I need to like set up a camera in this bathroom at work, and we're like, yeah, we can't help you with that.
You're like,
Uh,
"Yeah, no."
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of creepy stuff out there. I remember being on Alibaba once, and like there was a straight up toilet that you could buy on Alibaba that had a hidden camera built inside of
Oh god,
it.
it's horrible.
No, it's terrible, and I mean, we laugh about it because it's, like, absurd, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it was available for just anybody to buy. I don't know
yeah,
if it still is, but, um, yeah, I'm certainly a more paranoid person than the average
right.
American, I guess.
Well, and it's like, it's like any time with tools, right? Like tools can be used in different ways. Like even with technology and web stuff, like you can create tools that are for one purpose, but they can be abused for bad purposes
Oh,
and,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
like
in our space, it's like we get a lot of mothers who have kids with autism, and they think that they're getting abused or harassed, or people
dude,
who,
so
like, they're
important.
they're divorced, and they think that their ex-husband is, like, beating their kid or something like that, and they need
Oh
proof.
god.
And
Yeah,
so, look, I totally get that. Or they're being harassed at work or
right.
whatever. I totally get that. But there are
Right.
people out there. I mean, I see the headlines all the time just because of Google alerts who are using hidden cameras in ways that they shouldn't be using them.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy industry, man.
It's
But
weird. You meet weird people. You find out there's a lot of people that have stuff going on, and you hear all of it. So whether it's like keeping an eye on their kids or like their business or somebody's vandalizing my political sign in my yard and I need to find out who. Sometimes it just it gets kind of funny.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's a it's an interesting space. A lot of interesting people, private investigators, law enforcement, just regular people. I've met a number of celebrities who have like um, both bought in person or like they'll place an order on the website,
Mhm,
and like you'll get people who are like, yeah, I need to find out who's stealing my tools at work, or you get people who are like, yeah, I have like a 50-year-old Camaro or something like that, and I want to put a GPS tracker on it, and I want to find out like if anybody steals it, I want to be notified right away. Like you get many different types of clients in this space, so it's very diverse, very interesting, and you hear a lot of fun, wild, crazy stories, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, I saw that tweet you posted where you're saying, like, it'd be cool to do, like, a TV show where, like, you were, like, from your days in, like, the brick and mortar store or whatever, where you're dealing with all these, like, crazy scenarios and
Yeah,
celebrities. So I thought I thought that'd be hilarious, you know?
I think so too. If there are any TV producers out there listening, let me know because I've got a full season crazy stories that have actually like happened, like that I've
Right.
heard experience from my days of work. I was only there for 2 years, but I
Yeah.
got to hear the craziest stories. We were working with like there'd be drug dealers that were coming in and just buying like cases of, and then like
Yeah.
they'll leave, and like the police department will come in, and then like I was just helping the FBI earlier this year with a case
Really?
where uh yeah, they'll come to us. Like I'll get subpoenas all the time. I don't know if you know any other e-commerce store owners that get subpoenas and warrants, but I
Not
get
really, man. That's crazy.
yeah, they'll be like, yeah, we found a GPS tracker on this person's car and that should not have been there, so we need all of your sales records for this GPS tracker. And then I'll contact them and be
Damn.
like, look, we don't even sell that device, but I can help you out. And so then they'll tell me exactly like what the problem was. They'll show me the device. I'll tell them about it. And it's kind of
Mhm.
like I'm a expert that they'll come to for information on like products that are in our space.
Mhm. Dude, and, like, you could kind of, uh, do it your like, you could do that kinda content yourself as, like, as like a vlog or like a YouTube show. Like you could just
Yeah.
that'd be cool content. That might be a good like content strategy, you
I
know?
think so too. I've had multiple people tell me that. Eric Bandholz has been trying to get me to do videos from Beard Brand
Yeah.
for years now, and I keep telling him, "Yeah, yeah, we're gonna do it." And yeah, we built a YouTube set a couple months ago. I've been focused on SEO and some other stuff that seems like it's a little bit more important to us.
Mhm.
Um, and so I've been working on some other things, and that's just the thing with my business is that it's small. It's me doing a lot of the stuff, and I have I have dreams of what Spy Guy could be. Right? Like it'd be great if we were like a straight up D2C company that we follow a lot of people that are running D2C companies, and it's really cool, and they're making their own stuff. And with me, I'm just a retailer and it's hardware, so it's really capital intensive. And then because it's just me, it's like I can't do everything. I can't do all these videos. I can't do the SEO. I can't run I can't be so focused on the product development. It's just a lot of plates to spin all at once, and
Yeah.
I just have to pick the stuff to focus on. And but YouTube is something that's on my radar for first quarter once we wrap up some of the projects that we have right now,
Mhm.
because like we built a brand new set at our offices, and we're going to film all new product videos. I want every blog on our website to have a video on it that's just kind of recapping the information in the blog. I'd love to
Mhm.
sit down and interview like private investigators that I know, FBI
Nice.
agents.
Dude,
Maybe
that'd be great
I
content.
can't
Like,
find it. Yeah, I think so too, and I think people would really enjoy that. And it's just this weird space, right? Like surveillance and spy gear that, like, even though it's all around us in a lot of ways, nobody really talks about it. You
yeah,
get a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of private investigator TV shows, private investigator movies, spy thrillers. Um, the stuff's in the news all the time with hidden
Right,
cameras being
right,
found in places that they shouldn't be.
right.
And I work with so many different types of people from all walks of life. Like this stuff is everywhere, but nobody's like putting out like interesting content about like how it all works and how people are using it. And
Mhm.
I don't know. It does seem like a lot of fun. It's just I don't have. I got another kid coming in a few months, and like I just don't have time.
Right.
Maybe if my
Yeah,
margins were better and we were a bigger company, then we could do it all. But you just can't right now.
yeah. Congrats on the new kid, by the way.
Thanks, man.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Are there any like podcasts with like private investigators talking about random stuff? Like, I'm curious
It
now if that
I did a search
exists.
for it like a couple months ago because I was looking for backlink opportunities for Spy Guy,
Mhm.
just because that helps with our SEO. And I found a couple that are out there. I'll have if you want to put this like in show notes or something like that, then we
Yeah,
can
that'd
add a
be awesome.
couple. But
Cool.
yeah, there are some uh, pri- there are a lot of privacy focused podcasts for people who want to like get off the grid and like just be
Oh, okay.
not get tracked all over the internet, you know, and
Mhm.
find a way to disconnect and hide their activity. There's a
Mhm.
lot of that out there. A lot of cybersecurity related stuff,
Right.
um, which kind of scares me more than just the regular like, oh, my conversation's being recorded. um,
Exactly. Yeah.
there's a lot of that, but I don't know of any private investigators
Just telling
or
war stories, like that'd be
yeah,
funny.
I know I've heard a couple, but I think those were more like short stories rather than just like a long form like interview kind of thing. But
Right.
yeah, private investigators are really interesting people. At
Yeah.
least the good ones are. There's a lot of people who like saw CSI and like went and got their criminology degree and think they're really cool. But like they'll buy something from us and like they'll ask how it's used, and we're like, dude, you're a PI, like you should know how to use this thing. um but the good ones are like really good. Like they'll like drive somewhere and pull up records from an archive somewhere, or
Mhm.
they'll be doing surveillance overnight somewhere to find out where somebody's going. Like
Mhm.
they could do a really good job, and they got a lot of interesting stories and a lot of like high end clients that pay a lot of money. PI retainers are like $400 $500 an hour or something like that for some of the people that I know.
Jeez, that's
So
insane.
yeah,
That's
It's
wild.
an interesting space. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The more we're talking about, the more I'm like, oh, I kind of want to just listen to something like that. It'd be interesting. But I know we're over our time, Alan. It's been fun. Thanks so
Yeah, man.
much for taking some time.
Yeah.
Where's the best place for people to find you online?
Uh, it's Twitter.
All
So
right.
I'm on Twitter. You can just go to Google and type in Alan Walton, Allen, and then I'm on there. Email address alan@spyguy.com. If you have any questions about personal fitness and Wim Hof breathing, and maybe some e-commerce, then maybe I can be helpful. But I like meeting new people, and I like helping people out who are going down the who are just now starting out, um, especially if they already have something going and are trying to figure out the next step. It's a lot of like tire kickers to entrepreneurship out there,
Hmm.
and they suck up a lot of your time. But it's always nice to hear from somebody that like has something going and they've got traction already, and they need a little bit more help. I like helping those people out. So reach out and say hello.